Brandon Matthews here on the John Mendola Show. We are driven by McCarthy Tire Service. Brandon, I think back years ago, you and I were golfing up there at a Mannon. I think I
Unbelievable,
challenged
right?
you to a hole. I probably got a 10, and you probably got just below par. Maybe it was a birdie or something, but fun times back in the day. Here you are, all grown up and a professional golfer, and you're having the time of your life, I'm sure. Let's talk a little bit about the grassroots. So let's go back to Pittston area and growing up as a young golfer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, coming from where I come from, it's obviously an incredible area. I have a ton of support behind me. Can't thank the people enough that have always been behind me from day one. Growing up in that area, people are very passionate about golf. That's the one thing that people are always surprised about when I talk to them about where I come from is how passionate they really are about the game of golf. There's a huge base for it back in Northeast Pennsylvania. And like I said, it's just been incredible how people have cheered me on throughout the way. Like you said, grassroots, growing up at Emannon, I mean, what a great place. The people there are one of a kind. I mean, every time I go back, it's like a one big reunion. I always love going back there and seeing the people. And that goes for everywhere in the area, really. Any golf club, the people are amazing. And I'm just thankful to have grown up in that area and been able to meet the people that I have along the way.
We think of the thousands of young golfers that have played golf, over time in northeastern Pennsylvania. And, you happen to be a lucky one or a fortunate one, but there's a lot of hard work behind that. What do you think some of those things were, whether it was at a Mannon or just working with your dad or whoever that just kind of put you in the position you're in today? Your short game, your long game, your putting. I mean, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, but the most important part is work ethic, obviously. If you don't have a work ethic, you're not going to really succeed too much at anything in life. So I was fortunate and blessed to be privileged to grow up with a father like I did, to instill a work ethic in me, but without having the push. My dad wasn't aggressive with anything that he did. He always let me do what I wanted to, but made sure that I put full effort into everything that I did. So, that work ethic has transferred obviously into my later years here where, this morning we were up at 5:00 in the gym, doing everything we needed to do. And, I'm heading to the course right after this and, just being able to instill that and enjoy it too. That's the most important part. If you enjoy what you do, it doesn't seem like work. So, that's a very important lesson that I tell everybody that my dad instilled in me at a very young age, 11, 12, 13 years old, whatever it was that, when I feel like this game becomes work, that's when I need to step away for a little bit, take some time off, put the clubs down. And, honestly, throughout the years, there haven't been many times where I had to do that. And because I love the game so much, I realize how fortunate I am to be able to play at this level. And, that kind of keeps the drive alive and, makes me work harder.
Let's take us from high school to college and what that was like. And everybody has different dreams and people say, hey, I want to go there. I want to play at this type of school. Things worked out for you.
Yeah, 100%. I was fortunate enough to go to Temple University, which was a great school. Had a great coach there, great team. And, a lot of people question that decision, throughout me playing professional golf. Why'd you go to Temple? And it ended up working out because it instilled a lot of things in me, especially one being time off. Having time off is extremely important in any sport, and realizing that putting the clubs down for a little while, like I just got done with, for me, a pretty long break. 2.5 weeks after I played the tournament that I just won in Puerto Plata, the DR, I put the clubs down and didn't touch them until Sunday. And still took a couple days off after that. And today and yesterday are the first days where I'm actually hitting balls again and actually getting work done again. But to be able to give the body a rest, give the mind a rest for a little bit, that was one of the most important lessons that I learned. And obviously my golf game grew throughout the years at Temple as well, mentally and physically. And it was just a great place to go. I have no regrets going there. And I encourage, other people to consider Northeast schools a little bit more, because at the end of the day, as long as you have somewhere to hit golf balls in the winter, once in a while, it's really not that bad.
You always had that confidence about you. And let's talk going from the college level to, hey, I want to give this golf thing a shot. I want to be a professional. Talk about, what was that transition like? You grinded your teeth a lot. You're still grinding them, but at the same time, you're winning tournaments, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But talk about, those first few steps and trying to keep your head up.
That transition was easy. I've always believed that I can compete at the highest level. That never really went away. Definitely had a tough stretch last year for the first time in my entire life where I really struggled for an extended period of time. But I was fortunate enough to come out of the other end a lot stronger and mentally and physically, really. And started playing really good golf again. But, the transition from college to professional golf was, for me, it was great because, I went out, first round I played on a PGA Tour sanctioned tour, which was the Latin America. It was in Bogota, Colombia. I was leading after the first round and contended in that tournament. Second tournament I played and I won. So it was a very smooth transition. And then once I got on the Korn Ferry Tour after that year, Korn Ferry Tour started in 2018. January of that year, we started in the Bahamas, and I was actually leading that tournament through, I believe, a round and a half, 2.5 rounds, whatever that was. I believe it was Saturday where I was leading. The transitions were very smooth. Korn Ferry Tour, I would say, obviously is a lot heavier competition. I would argue that it's the second best tour in the world competition-wise. Obviously European Tour's top stars are a little bit more polished and accomplished than our top stars. But I think the talent level on the Korn Ferry Tour is extremely deep, really incredible. You can't be playing poorly and do well out there. You just can't. The guys out there are really, really good. And, in order to keep up with that kind of play, you would need to work really hard. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there. I think now I'm ready to play at the highest level possible. I think I've learned a lot, matured a lot mentally, and also with my game has physically matured a lot as well.
In some ways, people would say you're living the dream. You're traveling the world. You're playing golf. You're seeing the most beautiful places in the world. You still want a little bit more, I'm sure, which is who you are. But let's talk a little bit about, there's a lot of guys here in northeastern Pennsylvania, or women for that matter, and say, man, that guy's such a lucky guy. But there's a lot of hard work behind it. But let's talk a little bit about just going to these places, visiting these places. Do you get caught up in just kind of taking in the scenery, or are you so laser focused on, hey, I gotta do well on this hole?
Well, I'm not much of a tourist, so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of just focus on golf. But, some of these places that we go to, I do realize how lucky I am to get to see these parts of the world. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember the story of the major volcano erupting in Guatemala. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. We actually played a golf tournament on a golf course at the bottom of that volcano that is no longer a golf course anymore. So, to get to see those kind of places, especially that one, it's not there anymore, how beautiful that was, really incredible. And, there's many other places that I can name, but to get to be as cultured and get to see as many places as I have in the last 4 or 5 years is pretty special. And I definitely appreciate it. Don't take it for granted.
You've always handled the media part pretty darn well. You've had some interesting experiences. Talk a little bit about, just having those conversations with people. And there's times where you want to move on and not talk about things, but I'm sure there's times where you're like, hey, I want to look forward and talk about a little bit more too.
Well, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I appreciate the media's job and what they do. They're just trying to get a story and getting the content they need to get. So, I appreciate everything that they do. That's why I give them as much time as possible. So, there's certain times where you're upset and don't want to talk, but you need to give them the time, and you need to give people the time. I've always believed in that. Once you rise to the highest level or a higher level, you're going to have more attention. And when you get there, you can't forget where you came from. You can't forget your roots. You can't forget that those are the people. If there were no fans, we wouldn't have a tour, right? If there were no media, we wouldn't have a tour. So those are the people that those are some of the wheels on the bus that kind of keep it rolling. So I do appreciate every bit of that. And at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. Couple minutes of a conversation. I realize how fortunate I am to do what I do, and to take a little bit of time out of my day to speak to someone or have a conversation, do an interview, anything like that. That's not a big deal for me.
You mentioned Manning, of course you know well, but you think back to northeastern Pennsylvania, whether it was, Fox Hill or Wyoming Valley or Huntsville or Glenmora, maybe a course or two or a hole or two that you think about every once in a while back home in northeastern Pennsylvania that you enjoyed?
This one right here. I'm fortunate enough to be a member at the Country Club of Scranton, and God, that place is unbelievable. I don't think it gets enough credit. I think it's one of the best golf courses in the entire northeast part of the country. And again, like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be a member there, and the people there are phenomenal to me. Can't thank them enough. As well as Wyoming Valley, as well as Fox Hill, and all those places. They're so incredible to me, and I can't thank them enough. And obviously Manning is where I grew up. That place, there is not enough thank yous in the world for that place, because that's where I basically began my journey. So the gratitude that I have for the entire Northeast Pennsylvania area in general, and that goes beyond golf, is extreme. So
2021 golf. Let's talk about what are the plans. When will you get started here, or when will things start heating up for you?
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Right now, obviously, I had a lot of time off in 2020. I think everyone did. So 2021, it's nice to actually, because 2020 ended with a pretty heavy stretch of golf from August all the way through December, up until Christmas here. And it's nice right now. I get about 2 months to kind of just relax, and this is a great time of year where I live down here. Get to enjoy some incredible golf courses. The shape of the golf courses are amazing. My home club at Turtle Creek, the condition of it right now, I just played yesterday, is out of control good. So get to enjoy that a little bit, not really think too far ahead, but come March is when the Latin Tour is planning on starting back up. Obviously we have to, they have to assess the protocols with travel restrictions and so on and so forth. So we don't really have a concrete answer to when our first tournament is yet, but I'm assuming that's going to be coming soon. I'm going to probably go over and Monday qualify for the tournament in Sarasota, the Corn Ferry event at Lakewood Ranch. Hopefully, potentially I might get an exemption, but, I'm not counting on that. So if that happens, great. If it doesn't, I'll go over Monday qualify. Just looking forward to a great year. Obviously, 2020 was very difficult for everybody involved. And, looking forward to turning the page here. Thankful that I ended 2020 on a great note. And looking forward to just building consistently as I move forward.
You mentioned you're down in Florida. So talk a little bit about the hometown, and you mentioned the course you're involved with there. Your home course is great, but a lot of golf courses around you there in Florida, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. I'm pretty spoiled and very fortunate to play some amazing places down here with some good friends, and Yeah, I mean, we live in the golf capital of the world, I think, down here. The amount of golf courses that are really in the Class A is beyond belief, really. And the players down here in competition, and it's just the right place to live. I'm fortunate enough to be here, and if you're a high level golfer, this is the place to be.
Guessing those aren't umbrellas behind you. Are those golf clubs?
But yeah, though, that is my putter collection there that I have committed to not digging into for a while, since I've been putting pretty well. So hopefully we could stick with this one for a long time.
Let's talk about a trip to the Dominican Republic. You're taking just one bag of clubs. Like, how many clubs are in that bag? Like, how do you travel?
Oh yeah, so this trip I did take my staff bag, so it's a little bit heavier. It's a massive club glove bag, and I have 14 clubs. It's funny actually. My forward actually broke on the 6th hole that I played at the tournament, so I actually played that entire tournament with most of the tournament with 13 clubs, which was funny. But travel's been great. We're fortunate enough to be able to do it again, obviously. But I think that was one of the greatest lessons that I learned when I first went out there. 22-year-old, going out on tour and just kind of fending for himself a little bit, learning how to, book everything for yourself, travel by yourself, especially in these foreign countries where, I'm not fluent in Spanish, so being able to kind of get around and kind of fend for yourself, it's an important lesson. I think that was extremely great for me to learn. Traveling to these places, booking your own travel, getting around, and like I said, just learning the different cultures too, and how to be safe and so on and so forth. It makes things a lot easier in the long run.
We got some great stories here in northeastern Pennsylvania about golf nowadays. We got some young golfers that are doing really well, and then we still have those competitive guys, whether it's the McCarthy or the Allen. These guys that get up there in age, they're still pretty darn competitive, and I'm sure a lot of them live their lives through guys like you that are doing great things, but they still love the competition of the game of golf.
Yeah, 100%. That's, again, like I said, the base for golf in Northeast Pennsylvania is incredibly passionate. And for, the climate that we have, it's incredible how passionate it really is. The people that I grew up around are the 3 days. I mean, I don't think there's a place in the country that does what we do and has the attraction that we do for those kind of club events. So that's always really special. And, all the clubs in the area, they gear up for their 3-day. And it's funny when I mention to people, we have our 3-day, like, oh, like a 3-day member guest, like, that's a lot of time to play a member guest. We only do 2 days. There's not many 3-day member guests anymore. So again, everybody's really passionate. It's always fun to watch, from down here or wherever I am, to see what the results are in all of them. And, if a good friend wins, I'll always send them a text. It's always great to watch. So
The holistic approach, I guess, to golf in the sense of you need to be sharp mentally and physically. And as you evaluate your year of 2020, hey, there were a lot of challenges, you said. You played golf from August till December. But going into 2021, are you still always tweaking your game, always trying to get a little bit better in both areas?
Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest thing about golf, right, is you can't perfect it. So, I'm always trying to get better every day, working on something, trying to perfect something a little bit more. My putting has been a big change over the last month and a half. I've went to a different method, went to a different putter, and it's really incredible how well I've been putting. I have an extreme amount of confidence now. And if I can just continue with that, my ball striking day in, day out, usually can, in my opinion, can compete with the best in the world. So if this putter stays how it is, it's going to be a really special year.
Brandon Matthews, a pleasure to catch up with you. Great to see you all grown up doing great things.
Thanks, John.
We wish you the best in 2021 and hope to stay in touch.
Really appreciate it, John. Thank you so much for having me on.